Hello Colleen Shoppers! Welcome once again to my channel. This is Sir Job and welcome to Sir Job TV. Sa lahat po ng mga new explorers at saka new discovered pa po ang aking channel, please don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for you to be updated with my upcoming videos. So sa umagang ito, we will discuss about what is ethnocentrism, when do we become ethnocentric, and what is our way out. This is my video number 27. So when we define ethnocentrism, the word ethno comes from the Greek and it refers to people, nation, or cultural groupings. So pag sinabi nating ethno, the first few letters from the word ethnocentrism is referring actually to the concept of people, nation, and cultural groupings. So the other one is the word centric. When we speak of centric, it is a Latin word which means center. Kaya ethnocentrism. So a term was coined by William Graham Summer. So let's go deeper from the definition of the word ethnocentrism. So when we speak of ethnocentrism, it refers to the tendency of each society to place its own patterns at the center of things. So highlight natin yung statement na each society to place its own patterns at the center of things. Meaning to say, individually or each group, they consider themselves as above from the rest. Okay? So meaning to say, their culture is superior and the rest of the culture surrounded them are inferior immediately. So that's the point when we speak about ethnocentrism. The practice of comparing other cultural practices with those of one's own and automatically finding those other cultural practices to be inferior. That is ethnocentrism. Yung sinabi ko kanina, your culture, you considered your culture as superior and the rest of the culture as inferior, but using your own standard. So meaning to say, in judging or in making conclusion, ginagamit mo ang sarili mong kultura to justify that other culture are inferior and your culture is superior from the rest. So that's the point. Okay, let's continue. In other words, it is the act of evaluating other cultures according to preconceptions originating in the standards and customs of one's own culture. So klaro po, klaro ang definition. I hope you already get the point kung ano po ang ibig sabihin ng ethnocentrism by its definition alone. That's basically very important. So let's go now to some of the examples in order for us to understand deeper what is really ethnocentrism all about. So example number 1, belief in the superiority of the white race. This is common. We have the white man's burden, we have the concept of manifest destiny. If you know them, yun ang ibig sabihin. Meaning to say, the white race is superior from the rest of the colors, right? There's a concept of that. They have that particular idea that it's the burden of the white people to to civilize the colored ones. May statement na ganun eh. I hope that can be corrected because that's a claim, no? Kaya sinasabi dito, believe in the superiority of the white race. The next one is extreme Japanese nationalism. So we have that also kind of concept. In Japan kasi they have the concept of Japanization policy. Napaka-united talaga ng mga Japanese people. That's why they have that powerful force to combat really other mga invaders from their countries kasi napaka-united po ng mga Japanese. Sana po ganun po ang mangyayari sa Philippines, no, that we Filipinos would also have be united as one Philippines. Hindi yung nagwatak-watak tayo and then we are thinking of different from each other. This is the claim of the Japanese. The Japanese or extreme Japanese nationalism. The other one is the Philippines as Pearl of the Orient Sea. That's also a claim. So let's go now with the second example. The popular belief among American ethnocentric people is that their country, culture, values, development, and everything else is superior to every other nation in the world, and that the other nation is inferior to the United States. Claro? Okay? Nakuha nyo ang point? popular belief, I already explained this one kanina sa aking statement, that there's a concept of white people to really claim that they have superior culture over the rest of the culture. Okay, that the white race is higher than others. So in that particular way, that United States is the most powerful country, okay, in the world, talking about. So at the same time, their culture is also superior from the rest of other culture. That's their claim also. Okay, another example. For instance, an employee, talking about, for example, this is in a business form or any other job na pinasukan mo. Okay, for instance, an employee may refer to his client as moron. So when we speak of moron from the definition, this is a very stupid person, according to the dictionary. Refer to his client as moron if the client needed some time to understand whatever the employee was trying to tell him. Okay, because sometimes there are things na we cannot understand immediately. I'm putting here some of the examples na magagamit natin in order to justify this particular example. Note that may mga tinatawag talaga tayong first time experience, 'di ba? Like for example, you are living in the hinterland for the rest of your life. Like for example, 15 years in the making, nakatira ka sa bukid. And then one day, nakapag-aral ka sa isang syudad na kung saan doon mo tinapos ang kurso mo, but while staying there, nahirapan ka in every first time na ni-encounter mo. Okay? Like for example, ang nilagay ko dito, tumawid ng malalaking kalsada, for example, using the traffic lights. And you don't know that kasi sa bukid, wala namang mga traffic lights na ginagamit. Diretso tawid lang naman ang tao. So that's one thing. So, the concern of ethnocentrism is to tell you na hindi po tama na immediately we have to consider that particular person as stupid or a moron, for example, just because he could not understand or identify the color of the traffic lights. No, kung kailan tayo tatawid, kung kailan tayo titigil, kung kailan ang sasakyan ang tatawid, because it's difficult also. That's one of the examples. So we have really to understand that particular situation. Another thing is yung fast food. In ordering the fast food, like for example, Jollibee, McDo, or whatever, mahirap po yan sa mga first timer, yung nakatira sa bukid for how many years, na hindi po nila kilala ang mga bagay na ito. So it's very difficult for them to order. I've been into this kind of situation na napakahirap po talaga, nakakatakot po na humarap sa counter. But I conquer them all. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, lahat naman po ng bagay na tututunan natin if we have proper exposure to that. So kung hindi pa na-expose ang tao, we have no right to call that person as stupid immediately. And we should know first and foremost saan ang galing ang taong ito, why she could not understand and or can identify these particular procedures. That's basically one thing that you have to understand. And this is the concept of ethnocentrism in the first place. Taking into judgment immediately to that particular action of the person without considering the background of the person, without considering the culture of the person, or just simply putting that person as inferior one because he cannot act as like you or he cannot perform as how you perform your culture in the very first place. I hope you already got my point and you already understand the point of this particular concept at this very moment in time. Okay, anytime you think of another culture's traditional food as weird or gross, that is actually an act of ethnocentrism. Anytime you think, ano bang pagkain na ito? Hindi ko maintindihan. Hindi ito masarap. This is not a good food. This is not a healthy food. We should not eat this food or whatever. There's a discrimination of the food that being served to you by this group of people. That is already an act of ethnocentrism, or you are already an ethnocentric at that very point in time. So you have to be very careful. Now we have to respect kung ito yung kind of food na nilalagay nila or ino-offer nila sa iyo. So you have to understand, because that's basically what they can afford, or that's how their culture reflects on the kind of serving that they have to give you at the very first place. So you have to be reminded na ethnocentrism is not a good act to a certain person. Now let's go to the functions of ethnocentrism. The function of ethnocentrism in maintaining and more apparent than those which promote social change. So first, Okay, ethnocentrism encourages the solidarity of group. Believing that one's own ways are the best encourages the way feeling with associates and strengthens the idea that loyalty to comrades and the preservation of the basis of superiority are important values. So, when we speak of ethnocentrism, the first function is ethnocentrism encourages the solidarity of group. Okay? So, the group will become united, especially pag naiisip mo na you are belonging or you are part of the group na superior, powerful, higher, number one, sikat, famous. Okay? For example, you are part of the school na pinag-uusapan, no, trending sa buong mundo or whatever. So, you feel like, oh, I am so lucky to be part of this group. So whatever the transactions, whatever the things na gagawin ng grupong ito, you are so very active to do because you feel like you are also superior because you are part of the group which is considered superior or which they considered as superior according to their own standards. So that's basically, so there is a we feeling attitude na nade-develop. We feeling I am part, I am belong. Okay? So we are one, something like that. With that so there is loyalty to comrades and the preservation of the basis of superiority are important values. So you are very loyal to that particular group even if you know na may mga ginagawa na silang hindi kaaya-aya or there's a negative things na nangyayari na inside that organization, but since because you are belong and you are part, so ang goal mo is to really protect and still be part of that particular organization to protect everything about that organization, for example. So that's basically the point. So positively, ethnocentrism promotes continuance of the status quo kasi nagpapatuloy na mag-i-exist ang grupo. Because there is unity, so through the years talagang nag-i-exist pa rin ang group ninyo. Negatively, it discourages changes because you are close to other group of people. You are close to other idea because you feel like the group of yours is actually the best and perfect already. So wala ka nang hahanapin pa, kumbaga, something like that. So second, ethnocentrism hinders the understanding or the cooperation between groups. Highlight natin ito. Ethnocentrism hinders the understanding or the cooperation between groups. Okay? As I said before, wala kang point na tumulong sa ibang grupo or maki-join sa ibang group because your thinking is loyal ka lang doon sa mismong grupo mo. So you are closing your mindset from the rest of other groups. So ganun ang nangyayari. Ethnocentrism hinders the understanding or the cooperation between groups. Okay? Kasi nakafocus ka lang sa mismong grupo mo. If the ways of one's own group are best, there is a little incentive to interact with inferior. Highlight natin itong salita na, itong line na to. There is a little incentive to interact with inferior. Kagaya ng sinabi ko, if you think that your culture is higher than the rest, but take note lang ha, this is not a general point of view. Baka makakumit tayo ng fallacy of hasty generalization at this very moment kasi of course, in every circle, in every group, meron talagang nagpa-practice pa rin ng cultural relativism, for example, yung kaibahan nitong ethnocentrism. But usually, ito po yung pinoproject talaga ng mga grupo. They are ethnocentric in nature. They usually claim na kanilang group is the best and the rest are inferior already. In fact, attitudes of suspicion, disdain, and hostility are likely to be engendered. So, extreme ethnocentrism is likely to promote conflict as the record of past wars and religious and racial conflicts reveal. So, take a look at or take note of this portion. Extreme ethnocentrism is likely to promote conflict. Okay? Kasi wala nang proper communication ng mga groups. Nagkawatak-watak na, nagka-disunited na ang mga tao sa isang lugar. If I'm going to consider my group, I am superior. Okay, and the other group also, they are considering that their group is also superior, so everybody is claiming that they are superior in their respective groups. So ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng war. There is conflict because of that particular claims ng bawat grupo na nag-i-exist, because every group is considering themselves as superior from the rest of the groups. So kaya nagkakaroon ng conflicts. Let's have to understand na ang religion kasi is part of culture, and I know that you already aware na culture po or part po ng culture and religion. Kaya nga sinasabi ko, let's not argue, let's not debate for what doctrine is the best, ano ang religion na pinaka maganda or talagang masisave in heaven if the time comes na talagang babalik na ang Panginoon, for example, something like that. So, we should not debate for religion kasi part po ng culture and religion. So, nagva-vary po ang different perspective ng mga grupo. But in the case of our situation, lahat po talaga nagki-claim sa iba't iba pong grupo, like any other religion, always po nilang kiniklaim na ang kanilang religion po ang pinaka the best. So, this is one of the example also, no? Kasi wala namang religion na nagsasabi na you are standing with that religion and then you are telling that itong religion na to ang pinaka the best. That's crazy to think about. At wala pa akong na-encounter. So far talaga, pag dyan ka na religion, you always have to claim na yung religion mo ang pinaka the best. That's the point, and always po yung nangyayari. Third, conflict of course often leads to social change. In that sense, ethnocentrism becomes the vehicle of social change. It does so, however, through encouragement of its peaceful revolution. So, yun po ang functions of ethnocentrism. So, we already done the definition of ethnocentrism. Tapos na rin tayong magbigay ng mga examples. And I already give you some of the functions ng ethnocentrism. Now, let's go on with the question that we already raised also sa ating mismong topic for this morning, which is all about when do we become ethnocentric and what is our way out? Kailan tayo nagiging isang ethnocentric and paano natin maiiwasan ang ganitong thinking in the very first place? Kasi dapat po natin tong ma-end up with our culture. This is a negative characteristic of a certain person following ethnocentrism or acting as ethnocentric in the society. Nakakasira po ang mga ganitong thinking ng isang tao. So, basically, number one, when you judge the behavior and beliefs of people who are different from you, you are ethnocentric in that particular sense. Paano maiwasan? Or how are we going to let ourselves be out from that situation? So, ang gagawin mo, to stop ethnocentric behavior, you must to stop judging others who are different from you. So, simple lang. Because dito sa ating example number 1, you are judging people who are different from you. So, sa ating way out strategy, you have to stop. Okay, the only word is you have to stop judging other people who are different from you. Itigil po natin yung mga judgmental mindset natin. Kung different siya sa'yo, kung different yung idea niya sa'yo, minsan nakaka-irita din, no? Because may mga idea din kasi na pumuputok sa Facebook na talagang hindi mo talaga ma-define kung ano ang mga thinking ng mga taong ito. But some of those kasi talagang nagtitrigger lang sila sa ating existence na kung magagalit ka, okay, it's your fault, no? I'm a winner. So, kaya control din tayo pag may time. Yung mga napopost sa Facebook, yung mga video na ina-upload ng mga different netizens, pabayaan na lang po natin silang mag-enjoy. Wag na lang po natin i-share yung mga negative thoughts from other people kasi nakakasira po siya sa ating positive vibes in embracing everything in every day that is given by God. So now let's proceed to the example number 2. When you believe that there are primitive cultures, especially if their way of life is different from yours, you are ethnocentric. Okay? Klaro? When you believe that there are primitive cultures, so ang pinaka-highlight natin is ang primitive na culture. Kasi pag sinabi mong primitive ang culture niya, automatically, you considered that culture as inferior and your culture is superior. Ganun lang po kasimpleng maintindihan. Pag sinabi mong, ay primitive ang culture niya, hindi siya na-develop, kulang sa development, so you actually considering yourself as superior and that culture is inferior. Immediately, that's the point. Wala nang pwedeng i-explain pa dyan. So, way out. Okay, paano maiwasan? Ethnocentrism is taught. Ethnocentrism is taught. Okay, or natututunan, or nai-embrace, or napapractice if we want to. Okay, na ma-part siya sa ating system. It's basically very easy. You must to unlearn that your culture is superior and all other cultures are inferior. You must to unlearn. The very beautiful word here is you must to unlearn. Sana po may makagawa pa ng mga bagay. Sana po may kaya pang mag-unlearn ng kanilang culture. Kasi wala pong mangyayari kung patuloy po natin tong ipapractice ang pagiging isang ethnocentric. Meaning to say, pointing to our culture as the best of the best of the best of the best from other culture. Wala pong mangyayari sa mundong ito. So you have to unlearn. We must unlearn, no, that our culture is higher from the rest of the people. Not only in the Philippines I'm talking, but for the rest of the world. Let's end up that connotation. At sana po sa lahat ng mga nanonood, for those who are watching from different places, from different countries across the globe, who are watching this particular video, I hope that you would also do the same. Meaning to say, if you are an American and you would like to visit Philippines, for example, you should have to adhere all the cultures that being all the practices that being that became a routinized of this particular people, because you know it's not that the people will adjust because of your existence. Kasi ang nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas, usually we adjust from the foreigners. That shouldn't be the case. They should respect our culture because we have our own practices in the manner. That's basically very important. So dapat there's a respect between countries to countries, groups to groups. Dapat po yan po ang nangyayari sa atin. We have to respect cultures from different people. Example number 3, when you believe that some cultures are backward if they lack the technology and consumerism of your own culture. Kung hindi sila updated with technology, if they are not actually adhering, or meaning to say, pag wala silang influence doon sa culture mo, automatically, etong mga taong ito is backward. Okay, backward, they have the backward, ano ba tong lugar na to? Napaka-backward ng kanilang culture, walang improvement, walang changes, walang something like updated nila na idea, no? Yun mga sinasabi ng mga ibang tao for that particular culture. That is a sense of ethnocentric or ethnocentrism in the manner. So way out natin dyan, remember that there are no primitive or backward culture. You have to think, sa lahat ng manonood sa video ngayon, you have to always think na wala pong backward at primitive na culture sa ating mundo. There's no sense of that. Wala pong backward at saka primitive na culture. All cultures provide their members with the means for meeting all human needs. So all we need is to respect their practices and their culture. Wala pong backward, wala pong primitive na culture, wala pong inferior na culture. Lahat po ay dapat irespeto at lahat po ay dapat i-appreciate as to how culture defines. While ethnocentric views, so in conclusion of this particular video, while ethnocentric views are not necessarily intended, they have led to major human disasters. Okay, the very important word na dapat nating maintindihan for this morning, they have led to major human disasters throughout history, causing bullying, discrimination, intolerance, war, and genocide. So, pwede maging ganito po ang mundo. Pwedeng maging ganito kagulo ang mundo. Because, you know, ethnocentrism really leads to bullying, discrimination. Kasi you are considering your group as higher from the rest. So, talagang walang unification. Walang unity, for instance. Now, I would like to use the concept of the recent conflict now na I'm sure aware ang lahat, especially yung mga nakatira dito sa Philippines at sa lahat ng mga Filipinos na nanonood ngayon sa video na ito, sana maintindihan nyo ang point ng aking statement. There's a concept of Luzon and Mindanao conflict right now. I think lahat sa tagal ng panahon, ito po ay nagiging mitya na talaga ng comparison, yung people of Luzon at saka yung people of Mindanao. So napakahirap pong isipin na may mga mapa na po kung nakikita na siniseparate po ang Luzon at Visayas. Are you thinking logically with the manner? Kasi ang dami pong naghihirap para magkaroon po ng sovereignty ang Philippines. Ang dami pong mga taong nagbuwis ng buhay para maangkin po natin ang kalayaan. And finally, we have our own country to control and to run our own government. And here comes the people thinking something like this one. Sana po, let's end up that particular thinking na I am from Mindanao, I am from Luzon. This is the way how you treated each other. Mahirap po. Because pag nasa Luzon ka and then you are thinking na you are superior, okay, because you are ethnocentric in the manner, you are thinking na you are studying in UP for example, and then powerful ka, nasa Luzon ka, nasa higher portion ka ng country, you are in the northern portion of the country, and then you considered people from Mindanao as lower kasi andito tayo sa southern portion of the country, hindi masyadong civilized kasi wala naman dito yung mga skyscrapers or mga malalaking buildings na kung saan na makikita natin sa Luzon. So parang it's difficult for us to imagine. We are continuously practicing ethnocentrism. My dear co-Filipinos, my dear countrymen, I hope you end up that particular thinking that Mindanao is lower than or inferior, that Mindanao is inferior than Luzon and Luzon is superior than Mindanao. Hindi po ganon at wala pong ganong konsepto. Let's end up that one, and I hope sana after watching this video, you will have to realize na it is in this time of environmental upheavals and nagkaroon po tayo ng pandemya and other problems that we encountered, instead of comparing, instead of bragging what we have, instead of comparing everything we have and we don't have, let's be united na lang po and let's find ways na makatulong din po tayo sa ating government in order for us to surmount these particular challenges. Sana po ganun ang thinking ninyo na wala po sanang Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. We are one Philippines. So that's the point really why I discuss ethnocentrism at this very moment, because I want to justify na sana po i-end na po natin ang thinking kung saan po tayo nakatira. I am a Christian Filipino, I am a Muslim Filipino, we are one in the Philippines. That should be the concept. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope that you will share this video to your friends and to anybody else that you think nangangailangan ng video na ito. Asahan niyo po that Sir Job TV will continue to give you meaningful discussion, especially in the field of social sciences. See you once again for another video. Bye-bye!